How are you?
I'm great.
Where were you this past week?
I was in Cincinnati.
Oh.
And it's interesting. They got all of these fountains. It was so hot when I was there. And they got all these fountains along the riverfront there. So I'm not ashamed to say I jumped in a few of those fountains.
Good for you. Well, from Unchained in Wayne, New Jersey, there's a question stating, I am working at a client to help them implement their new owner's policies and procedures since they were acquired. I am an individual contributor and not the PM. They are following the new owner's PM philosophy of critical chain project management. They have purchased the tool for MS project from ProChain. Have you heard of this approach? I see some issues with it and I'm curious to see how this will play out. But overall, I really don't see any advantage to it over our practices. Or am I missing something? Here's a link to the video.
Well, I appreciate the link, and I watched the video. Very fascinating. I want to give you guys an opportunity to look at that link here. And I've been a big fan of critical chain since I first learned the technique. I was always excited to try to use it in the companies where I worked. Only problem was I was never given that opportunity, because it requires management support for the philosophy, and if only one project is doing it, it only makes sense that be the number one project in the company. I never had the opportunity of working on the number one priority project in the company.
Right.
So, but what ProChain seems to have done is shown how this, basically making an add-on to the MS project, gives you the ability to do this on all the projects. So I love the video. In 15 minutes, they completely explain their technique, the software, and all the management support required. So if you're unclear how that system works, watch the video again a couple more times, but sometimes you need somebody to explain it in their own words, so I'll try to do that for you. So here's the philosophy. Every activity has an uncertainty, and those committing to task deadlines will include that uncertainty as a buffer within the duration. Now, once they have taken a buffer, they rarely give it back. And so tasks rarely finish ahead of schedule. They'll usually use up all the buffer that they've been given. So what critical chain project management does is it consolidates all those individual task buffers and puts it under control of the project manager, who parses it out or takes it back as they're managing the critical path of the project. So if you finish your task 2 days ahead of schedule, I'll take those 2 days added to the buffer. If later on you run into a risk that takes 3 days, I'll give you 3 days from that buffer.
Right.
The goal is that at the end of the project, I have a little bit of buffer left, which means I finished the project ahead of schedule. But in this whole ProChain technique, people work to priorities rather than deadlines. But all projects must be prioritized for the system to work. And people must be allowed to finish tasks late if priorities demand it. If it's a low priority project, it's better that they finish a task on a higher priority project ahead of schedule and let this one be delayed.
Right.
And project management now focuses on buffer management. So this software, ProChain, allows management to focus on buffer management within those prioritized projects. So my advice to you, Mr. Unchained, is to embrace this technique and learn all you can while you have the opportunity. I'm a little bit jealous of you, and then let me know how it turns out.
Well, if you have any questions, please comment below. For additional information or to sign up for a class, please click on the link.